Good evening, everyone. I'm Kiera Taylor.
And I'm Kashari Norwood.
And this is Hardcover News.
Tonight, Hardcover reporters hit the streets to get people's take on the Florida's controversial stand your ground law that first made national headlines with the fatal shooting and murder of 17-year-old Trayvon Martin. Born February 5, 1995, Trayvon Martin was described by teachers as an AB student who majored in cheerfulness. On the night of February 26, 2012, Martin and his father were visiting his father's fiancée at her town home in Sanford, Florida. Martin had been sent to his father after being suspended from school for an incident involving a marijuana pipe and an empty bag containing marijuana residue. Martin had been suspended twice before for vandalism of school property and tardiness in truancy. It is said that on the night of February 26, Martin walked into a nearby convenience store and after purchasing his items, began to walk back to the residence at the retreat at Twin Lakes. Martin began a conversation on the phone with a friend who he told about a suspicious person who appeared to be following him. This person was later identified as George Zimmerman, a 29-year-old Virginia native who moved to Sanford, Florida with his wife in 2009. Zimmerman made a 911 call and reported a guy who looks like he's up to no good. Zimmerman told the dispatcher that he was indeed following Martin and was told that he did not need to do so. The events that occurred after this are not known. However, there are a variety of different stories that have been thoroughly investigated and a number of witnesses who have been questioned. Martin's cause of death was a single gunshot fired at an intermediate range between 1 and 18 inches. Zimmerman's defense claimed that he feared for his own well-being and used Florida's self-defense laws, which include justifiable use of deadly force, as a defense. Zimmerman's defense claimed that he feared for his own well-being and used Florida's self-defense laws, which include justifiable use of deadly force, as defense. Florida's Stand Your Ground provision, passed in 2005 as a part of their state's self-defense laws, grants persons who reasonably fear death or greatly bodily harm to use deadly force only if all other options are explored first.
You protecting yourself, whether it has to be with a weapon or physically having to handle your own.
Stand your ground, don't let no one get at you.
No, not at all.
I mean, it's not here in Chicago, but I guess it's probably is good for some states.
All that, man, it'll be good if it was put in, if it was placed, you feel me, and mud really went by, but nobody go by that, so it's all BS, however y'all want to put it.
I love it.
You love it.
Right, why not?
I feel that it was a really unfair trial, regardless of the Stand Your Ground law. I feel like they should have dug deeper into the case and try to find out more evidence, because I feel Zimmerman shouldn't have walked away a free man.
I could have been Trayvon. That could have been me.
He got away with murder.
You just don't shoot somebody and then walk.
Really disappointed me because I really think that it has to do with racial things, especially that, you know, he was African American and everyone thinks that Zimmerman is white, but he's not. You know, he's Hispanic and some other crap. But I think it was a racial thing just by the jury. They should have picked a more multicultural jury so they could make a good verdict instead of the verdict that they made. I don't think so at all. I really think that Trayvon Martin's family is really hurt by the decision, and I do hope that in the future maybe they'll take it to retrial and have another different verdict.
Hell no. Hell no, justice want to serve. What type of question is that? Does justice serve? Hell no, justice want to serve.
Hell no.
Thank you, Brittany. In my opinion, I do think that Zimmerman was let off. Looking at what they considered evidence of self-defense makes me furthermore believe that the entire case was taken as a joke.
Exactly. For instance, the picture of Zimmerman that was taken after the alleged brawl that occurred between him and Trayvon Martin looks to be Zimmerman's brother.
Yes, with George having a wider face than his brother, and when you compare the two pictures of Zimmerman and his brother with the picture of the brawl, it looks not to be Zimmerman, but to be his brother.
Yeah, I feel as though this case was not only about if Zimmerman was right or wrong or guilty or not, but it was also a representation of the fight between blacks and whites and how African Americans don't receive the same amount of equality. Us African Americans looked at this case and felt as though racism was still alive, because had Zimmerman been African American, he would have most likely been convicted of murder.
Another case, also in Florida, where a woman who was African American was being abused by her husband and fired a warning shot to him and used the same stand your ground laws as a defense, received 20 years to life, but Zimmerman walked and he killed an innocent teen. I mean, being completely honest, do you think that's fair?
But then again, you have to consider the entire judicial system and take into account how fair it is. Is any part of the judicial system fair? You have to think about who created the system. White men with lots of power. So of course the system is somewhat biased.
I feel like although African Americans have been free from slavery for hundreds of years, we as a people are still fighting to free ourselves from the injustice that we face on an everyday basis. We constantly fight stereotypes and continue to fight for the same right as other races.